Here the Vex planted the seed that became the infinite forest. And it smiled. Panoptes.
What is this? A big issue the first Destiny had was that its first two expansions were essentially the next chapters of its story, and a lot of people were angry that they were paying for what should have just been on the disc. Naturally, you'd think Bungie would have learnt their lesson and made sure Destiny 2's first two expansions would be of greater substance. And you'd be right, and very wrong. Curse of Osiris is the first expansion for Destiny 2, and while it's nice that it adds more to do, the new content it adds is so lacking and insultingly bare, you'll be left questioning why this wasn't just a free content update. In regards to the new content added to the game, we of course get some new loot and maps for the Crucible, as well as a new story and a new zone set on Mercury to fool around in. While standard content you'd expect from an expansion, Bungie was insultingly lazy and put the bare minimum of effort into it. The new zone, the Lighthouse, is pitifully smaller than the Titan Zone, and they even forbid players from using the Sparrows to make it feel bigger than it really is. This could have been forgivable if at least like Titan, there was still plenty to do, but there isn't. There are only three things. The story, which makes the Red War campaign look like the Lord of the Rings. In that campaign, while you were essentially a glorified errand boy, here, you're not even that. You're nothing. You spend more time revisiting areas from the base game than on Mercury, and when you are on Mercury, you just go into a glorified VR sim called the Infinite Forest multiple times, with the same gauntlet repeated ad nauseum. Even the titular Osiris, the big guy that this entire expansion is named after, doesn't appear in it. He only shows up at the very end to help you beat up an even worse villain than Gaul, and then decides to pull a Luke Skywalker and go away again. The map for the Mercury Zone itself is just lazy. It's basically a giant donut with its center housing its only public event, which whisks you across it as you fight a giant robot. Now, this is fun, and it does have some interesting challenge to it, but in the lead up to the expansion's release, Bungie really hyped it up as the most rewarding event they've designed for Destiny. That is a lie. All you get at the end of this event is 2 Mercury tokens to trade in, and with how you're thrown around the map by this event, you get the feeling that the map was originally designed as part of a scrapped raid, but Bungie liked it so much that they just couldn't get rid of it and instead used it as a blueprint for this.
Outstanding! Keep it up and you may someday even live up to Osiris' deeds.
Now before you ask, yes, there is a lost sector to stumble onto, but that's it. There's only one, destroying any real incentive to explore the zone unless you want to look around for chests to open up as part of the daily challenges. All it ends up being good for is grinding for loot associated with the Mercury Zone. As for the new loot added, I kept my ear to the ground, and it turns out Bungie took the easy route with this stuff. They just took exotics from Destiny 1, nerfed them, and reskinned them, and just called them new loot. But there's something even worse than that, and that's the fact they were really lazy with designing an original weapon, the Prometheus Lens. Now, this thing was just ridiculous, and not only did it make short work of enemies in PvE, but it utterly owned other players in the Crucible so effortlessly that everyone was using it. And I'll be the first to admit this, that period in the Crucible was a lot of fun. I mean, it was just fantastic to play laser tag, or should I say extreme laser tag, against other players in the Crucible maps with Destiny's really bouncy combat. But as of this review, it has been nerfed as well, making it almost useless in any situation. It'll be adjusted soon to be more useful, but I hope Bungie takes note of how fun the Prometheus Lens was when it first came out, and possibly even base a PvP list around it. Crucible laser tag is too good of an idea for an intense PvP mode to pass up. Thank you for making Lens.
One opponent remains.
Oh, you killed each other!
Enemy team.
As a whole, Curse of Osiris is one of the worst expansions I've ever seen for any game. Its anemic content makes it feel like it should have just been a free update rather than a paid expansion. However, as of right now, it has undergone some updates, adding more to do in the form of PvE challenges, raid rebalancing, and even what I can best describe as exclusively solo raids. And while these do improve it significantly, it's a sad case of too little too late, as there's still very little to do compared to the other zones, and the non-existent story still adds nothing of narrative value. Unless you want to get your hands on some exclusive loot and Crucible maps, feel free to skip Curse of Osiris, or wait for the inevitable re-release with all of the expansions. Hey, thanks for watching the video, I really do appreciate it, and if you really like the video, then don't forget to also like, favorite, and subscribe. And if you want some updates on videos I'm working on, or to find out what I'm doing in my personal time, then feel free to check out my Minds blog, link in the description below. And for upcoming videos, I'm planning to do a first impressions video on the early access title Witten Law, and I'm also going to catch up on some movie reviews, do a review of The Last Jedi, and of course, the top 5 and bottom 5 movies of 2017. I've got all that and more coming up, so like always, stick around.